slowly with a few draws here and there, you always felt they were going to be fine. And so it's proved, I think they got 2 more points this season than they did last season because quality will out. So they've been able to have a go at both competitions. And like you say, I mean, that quarter-final lineup, if they do play those 3 games and come through those 3 games, I mean, for the fans, I know they can't be there, but what an incredible adventure that will have been.
Well, they're certainly going to play the first of those games, Wolves versus Sevilla, Tuesday the 11th in Duisburg. And we can bring in Guillem Balagué now. Good evening, Guillem.
Good evening, Steve.
Hello. So, I mean, we are going to ask you about Manchester City, Real Madrid, but I also have to ask you now about Sevilla, because that's who Wolves are going to play in the quarter-final.
What a strong team Sevilla is, and how good Lopetegui is doing. Lopetegui plus Monchi, the director of football, of course, who's put together a very strong side that perhaps doesn't score as many goals as it should, perhaps doesn't create as much as it should. Very solid at the back, though. Everybody works very hard. Diego Carlos is perhaps one of the strongest centre-backs that is in La Liga. Batslich, the goalkeeper as well, doesn't make mistakes. Ever Banega playing his last games for Sevilla in the middle, in a midfield that has got a lot of variation and a very, very strong bench as well. So all in all, it's the Champions League next season, so it's that kind of quality of team.
Yeah. Do you think that the history they have in this competition
in the past, getting to this stage of the Europa League would have been a celebration. Now it's like, right, it's one step to the target, and the target is to get as far as they can, because honestly, and I spoken to Lopetegui, he doesn't feel there is anybody that Europa League stronger than Sevilla. They can happily feel that they're one of the candidates to win it.
So Guillem Balagué is with us. We also have former Wolves winger Matt Jarvis, Alistair Bruce-Ball and Clinton Morrison. Guillem, we've spoken already about the Gareth Bale situation, which of course is very interesting, but what we didn't really get onto before is how different this Real Madrid is than the Real Madrid that Manchester City beat 2-1 in the first leg. And the majority of that comes down to the defence and this sort of interesting comparison. They've suddenly got a brilliant defence, but they'll be without Sergio Ramos.
Yes, Zidane recognised that it was a little bit of a last dance for some of the players of Real Madrid at the beginning of the season and asked them to actually win games in a different way. They tried to do it without Cristiano Ronaldo by outscoring teams. It wasn't working. So this time, Zidane, after coming back 3 months before the end of last season, basically said, how about if we actually work together to make sure that there is no space in between the lines, that everybody helps everybody, that the first defender is the attacker. And it worked. It worked especially in the last 11 games of the season. That's a fourth of the season after the confinement. And what happened there is 10 victories, 1 draw, but more importantly, they hardly conceded goals. Why? Because Sergio Ramos pushed the defensive line very high up the pitch. Benzema was defending very, very strongly. The midfielders as well were doing exactly that, and that's what's taking them to the title. But Sergio Ramos not being there is not just a leader missing, is a fast defender. Yes, Varane is, but Militao isn't so much. He's a leader in terms of when to call for, to put the pressure high, when to actually drop back, and he's good at that too. Militao not so much. So it's a big absence, definitely so. But the Real Madrid that Manchester City found in the first leg was a Real Madrid that was really mentally and physically exhausted. Now they feel new. They feel that as they have done with the league, they call it a mini Champions League. They are in the real one, and they actually can just show the best version when the competition is short.
Well, these are the kind of names, teams like Real Madrid, the winner of the Europa League might get the opportunity to play next season. That could well be Wolves after that victory over Olympiacos, I'm delighted to say. We can speak live to Wolves captain Conor Coady. Good evening, Conor.
Good evening, fellas. You okay?
Oh, good. Congratulations. What was that like?
Thank you. Thank you for that. No, do you know what? It was really tough. Really tough. We played against a real top-class side that day. We knew when we went to Athens how hard it was going to be, how tough it was to play against the top team. But I thought the lads were outstanding to man. Honestly, I thought the way we set up, the way we wanted to play, the way we've done things is exactly how we'll play over the last 3 years since the manager's come in. And I thought towards the end of the game we were very mature in terms of how we managed the game as well. So honestly, it's an incredible night for this football club, and one we'll look back on probably in years to come and go, God, we'll remember that forever, because honestly it's one we won't forget.
Well, I said right at the top, Connor, it's the first time that a Wolves team have got to the last 8 of the European competition since 1972. This is history that you're part of.
It's amazing. Honestly, we speak about the club all the time, and that's what we're here to do as players, as staff. We're here to help the club improve, help the club get better, and hopefully we're doing that at the minute, because we're loving playing under the manager and how he wants us to play. And as I said, the way we've done things tonight was exactly how we want to do it. We were organised, we were compact, we frustrated them, which I always think that's important to do when you play against a top team, because they have some real good players like Balbuena, who's obviously played at the top level, incredible footballer. But as I said, we stuck to our task. We scored a great goal in the first half that I think gave us a little bit of confidence going into the game, and that gave us the chance to hold on to something then.
Your season is only 383 days old by the time you play Sevilla. Does it feel like longer than that even?
Honestly, do you know what? We don't even think about it. Honestly, we don't think about it. We said on the pitch at the end of the game where we don't really want to focus on holidays or things like that. It's not something we want. What we want at the minute is to keep on going in this competition. We've worked so hard this year. The first qualifying round against Crusaders in Belfast to now we worked so hard to put ourselves in this position. And we don't want to stop. Honestly, we don't want to stop. It's a brilliant football club, and the mentality of us is to take it a game at a time, and that won't change now. We've got a huge game. Wolves against Sevilla. I don't think you'd have said that. You'd have thought you'd have said that 3 years ago, which is incredible, and we'll look forward to that and become right.
Connor is Clinton here, Clinton Morrison here. If you turn around me and look at me here, you can see him wave at me. It's your number 1 fan here. I'm waving at you. Well done, mate. Well done, mate. But well done, mate. But I must say, you, Bolly and Sass and Rui Patricio, I thought you four were magnificent today, because, as you said, Olympiacos were really good.
Oh, thank you for that, mate. It means a lot. No, do you know what, mate? I think it was important that we defended. Like we said before the game, it was about defending. Like, we didn't want to just come here and hold on to the advances that we had, because we weren't really an advantage. We only needed a goal. And we spoke about it before, it saying we need to stay in the game for as long as possible, because we'll come on hard at the end. But it was important we defended, right, because we know going forward we have pace, we have power, we have Raul, who's an incredible footballer, Jota coming on, midfielders who work hard and can create things. So it's important we defended right, and luckily we've done that, mate, because as I said, they're a real tough team. But I thought we showed a lot of maturity in terms of how we managed it as well, which is great. But we'll look back on it and we'll remember it for a long time, mate, honestly.
And one more from me, one more. Talk to me about that pass you done. Please tell me how good that pass was. The outside of the boot, 50 yards. If Doherty picked someone out, that's goal of the season, mate. You got to be having a word with him when you get in that change room.
I already have, mate. I already have. And he just throws me off, honestly. He just throws me off. No, I thought he was brilliant tonight. The distance he covers and all that. And he's fantastic for us, mate. Honestly, he's been incredible for us for the 10 years that he's been here. He's an incredible servant for this football club, a brilliant person. And you can play passes like that, mate. It's all right.
Connor, congratulations again. Brilliant to talk to you. I don't know if you've been to Duisburg before, but enjoy it.
Can't wait, mate. Thank you very much. Thanks for the phone call, fellas.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Oh, that was great. Wolves captain Conor Coady with us. Matt Jarvis, Clinton Morrison, Ali Bruce Ball and Guillem Balagué are with us. Guillem, we'll get back onto Manchester City, Real Madrid in a second, but seeing as we've just had Conor Coady on, do you think Sevilla will be wary of Wolves?
Yes, they played really well against Espanyol for 3/4 of the tie, and Espanyol that was really struggling. But they dominated, and when they didn't need to play, they defended the deep, and they defended with quality. So it's a well-known team, and has got that thing that I feel Sevilla tend to feel a little bit high tempo. They play the kind of football that Sevilla prefers not to play against, but. They are at that stage of the competition where every team is a very good team. I do feel, and as I said earlier, Sevilla feel as well, they cannot fear anybody, even if they call Manchester United or Wolves or whatever.
The other player that we have to mention in the Real Madrid team is Karim Benzema, another guy who, well, not so much he's in a different position to what he was pre-lockdown, but a different position to where he was a year ago. It just feels like he's finally starting to get the sort of world-class recognition that maybe he's deserved for a long time.
But if you put pictures of last year or the year before or the year before that or 5 years ago, I give you the highlights of his seasons, you'd say, wow, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
He's actually getting better, yes, but he was so influential in everything that happened. One thing that helped him is Cristiano Ronaldo leaving, and that's an obvious thing, because all of a sudden he had to do what he used to do for Cristiano, but now he's got to do it for others or for himself. The figures in terms of goals, people say, well, you need more for a striker of Real Madrid. Well, you don't if you actually get the help of others and take advantage of the movements that he makes. It's absolutely wonderful to see him grow and absolutely wonderful to enjoy his football.
I guess Matt Jarvis, he helps wingers out a lot, because if you're there whipping crosses in all night long, you know, you want a Clinton Morrison or a Karim Benzema on the end of it, don't you?
That's exactly what you want. You've got to be wanting to put balls in that, you could basically, you just do any type of cross and you know that they're just going to be in the box, they're going to be reading the situation, and he scores all sorts of different goals. You know, he can score with his head, his feet, you know, he's in the right position, and that's what makes a top goal scorer. I mean, you know, that's Clinton more than myself, but I was the provider, he would be the finisher.
I thought you were going to say Clinton more than Karim Benzema.
No, you crazy. Crossy, for you to even put me in that bracket with Benzema, I'll take that, mate. Don't worry about that. I will take that. But no, Benzema's he's a superb striker, and Guillem's, he's spot on. I think he's improved this season. He's took his game to another level. I think when you lose Ronaldo, someone has to go in and fill them shoes, and he definitely has done that, Benzema. And a manager that backs him. Zidane backs Benzema, and I think that's important as a centre forward. When you got a manager that backs you, you go and showcase your ability, and that's what Benzema's doing at the moment. So Man City will have to be wary of him.
Yeah. Thing is, Ali Bruce-Ball, we both know that if Clinton Morrison was playing for Real Madrid, it wouldn't matter. He'd still be telling off his teammates if they didn't find him every time.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. Wouldn't matter who it was. No, you're absolutely right. You know, and even after this, after the commentary, after we come off air, after the podcast, he'll be having a word about something that wasn't right, Steve. You know.
Ali, Clinton, thank you very much indeed.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Former Wolves winger Matt Jarvis, great to have you on as always. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Brilliant. And Guillem Balagué, thank you. I'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, Steve. Bye-bye.
Guillem Balagué with us. Well, what a fantastic night for Wolves. Congratulations again to them. All roads lead to Duisburg next Tuesday. Wolves will play Sevilla in the quarter-finals of the Europa League. The reward for winning that could be Manchester United. The reward for winning that could be Inter Milan in a final of a European competition. Fantastic night. Big thank you to Conor Cody for joining us as well. Don't forget, coverage of the PGA Championship continues for us on 5 Live Sports Extra right now. You can join Ian Carter and the team. Jason Day currently leading that on 5 Under. Next up on 5 Live, it's going to be Stephen Nolan. Good evening, Stephen.
Good evening. Thank you very much indeed. Tonight, how the R number, this is the level that coronavirus is being transmitted, of course, is increasing in Northern Ireland. The latest is more countries are removed from UK safe travel list, and we'll discuss local lockdowns, the Eat Out to Help Out scheme, and if we're forgetting about the effect of lockdown on domestic violence victims. That's all to come. Loads to talk about after the news and sport on 5 Live with Rob Scobie.
5 Live Breakfast.
Beirut rescue workers are searching for dozens of people after that explosion devastated the port area. Tom Fletcher was the UK's ambassador to Lebanon between 2011 and 2015.
The political system in Lebanon was kind of frozen in place after the civil war, and one of the methods people used to try and maintain stability was to have this kind of balance of power between different political communities.
A mild reassurance from the Bank of England today, saying it doesn't expect the economic downturn to be as severe as first thought.
Bad, but not as bad as it could have been, is the headline here.
Alan Skelton, Nicky Campbell, 5 Live Breakfast.
5 Live Breakfast. Back tomorrow from 6. On digital, BBC Sounds, smart speaker and online.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
With the 5 Live headlines, I'm Rob Schofield. People arriving in Britain from Belgium, the Bahamas and Andorra will have to quarantine for 14 days. Officials are concerned about a spike in infections in all 3 countries. This as the reopening of pubs in Northern Ireland that don't serve food has been delayed. because of concerns about the spread of COVID-19. The French President Emmanuel Macron has called for political change in Lebanon on a visit to the port area of Beirut that was devastated in an explosion on Tuesday. At least 137 people have been killed. The coroner at the inquest into the death of the television presenter Caroline Flack has ruled that she took her own life, saying she knew she would be prosecuted and would have to face the publicity. The 40-year-old former Love Island host had been due to stand trial for assaulting her boyfriend, which she denied. And it's been confirmed that this year's postponed London Marathon in October will be open to elite athletes only. Organisers are encouraging members of the public due to take part to complete a marathon run at home instead. Elsewhere in sport, Wolves have qualified for their first European quarter-final in 48 years. Raul Jimenez's early penalty saw off Olympiacos 1-0 at Molineux in the last 16 of the Europa League. A difficult night, but they go through 2-1 on aggregate and will face five-time winners Sevilla in the tournament finale in Germany. Rangers won't be there. Bayer Leverkusen beat them 1-0 to complete a 4-1 aggregate win. Norwich have rejected a £10 million bid from Liverpool for left-back Jamal Lewis, while 8 Aberdeen players are self-isolating and will miss 3 Scottish Premiership matches after 2 squad members tested positive for COVID-19. England's cricketers have it all to do in the first test against Pakistan. Shan Masood's 156 on the second day at Old Trafford helped them to 326 all out. England then limped to 94 for 4 in reply of 234 runs behind. Jason Day has a one-shot lead after his opening round of the US PGA Championship at TPC Harding Park in San Francisco. Coverage is over on 5 Live Sports Extra right now. And at the World Snooker Championship, 4-time champion John Higgins has lost a thriller 13-11 to Kurt Mafflin. Higgins is out. Mark Selby is tied 8-all with Noppon Singham after 2 sessions.
Stephen Nolan on BBC Radio 5 Live.
Welcome along. First, let's get you up to speed on the weekend politics. And 7 days ago, the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, announced new tightened COVID restrictions in Greater Manchester, East Lancashire and parts of West Yorkshire.
We take this action with a heavy heart, but unfortunately it's necessary because we've seen that households meeting up and a lack of social distancing is one of the causes of this rising rate of coronavirus, and we'll do whatever is necessary to keep the country safe.
And it didn't stop there. The next day, Boris Johnson announced that plans to ease other lockdown measures in England were being delayed.
Our assessment is that we should now squeeze that brake pedal in order to keep the virus under control. We had hoped to reopen in England a number of the higher risk settings that had remained closed. And today, I'm afraid we're postponing those changes for at least a fortnight.
On Wednesday, lockdown restrictions were reimposed in Aberdeen due to a new outbreak. Pubs and restaurants were to close, and people were told not to visit the city.
These regulations and the associated guidance and advice will be reviewed in 7 days' time, by which time I hope we will be in a better position to judge the scale and the trajectory of this outbreak.
That's the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon. But as some places closed, others opened up. Pubs, cafes and restaurants in Wales are now able to serve people indoors. The Welsh First Minister is Mark Drakeford.
Wherever we see a little spike locally, we try and get on top of it and suppress it immediately. We've demonstrated that we can do that effectively in Anglesey and in Merthyr Tydfil, for example, and people will be working very hard in Wrexham and other places where we need to do the same thing.
In other developments, suspicion of rape. Here's the Tory Chief Whip, Mark Spencer.
They are very serious allegations, and we do take those allegations very seriously. I think it's down to the police to do that thorough investigation, not for the Whip's office to investigate this alleged crime. It's for the police and the authorities to do that.
And tributes have been paid to one of the architects of the Northern Ireland Peace Agreement, the former SDLP leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner John Hume, who died aged 83. Here's the party's former deputy leader, Breeze Rogers.
He brought people to a recognition that politics can work, will work, and that legacy will live on, and John will be remembered as the man who took the gun out of Irish politics forever.
That's us up to date. Now it's all about your calls. We're getting into our big questions in just a few minutes. So here's how to get in touch.
This is BBC 5 Live. Call free 08085 909 693. Text 85058. Text will be charged at your standard message rate. Plus, see our privacy notice. bbc.co.uk/5 Live.
Stephen Nolan on BBC Radio 5 Live.
Right, welcome along then. You used to be hearing Question Time on a Thursday night. So while the programme is taking its summer break, we're keeping the same kind of format. Our guests asking questions surrounding the week's politics, and open up the lines, of course, for all of you to have your say tonight. 08085 909 693. We will speak to our panel first this evening. Polly Mackenzie. Polly's the Chief Executive Officer of the cross-party think tank Demos, former Special Advisor to Nick Clegg. Hello, Polly.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing okay, thank you. And the Sun's political editor, David Wooding. Hello, David.
Hello, Stephen. Good evening.
Good evening, good evening. Our extra timers this evening, Tricia and Jackie and Naisha. Hello, Naisha.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing okay, thank you. And Jackie, hello there.
Hi there.
Hello, and Tricia, good evening.
Good evening, Stephen.
Good evening. Right, you're all there. That's good. Pauline and David, let's start with you. Two breaking stories tonight. The R number, it's going up in Northern Ireland. That's the number of people, of course, that one infected person is likely to pass the virus on to. If it's higher than 1, there's an increase in cases. If it's below 1, the disease will peter out. The Department of Health in Northern Ireland says the R number is now between 0.8 and 1.8 in Northern Ireland. And more countries are coming off the safe list. This is the safe travel list. Travellers returning to the UK from Belgium, the Bahamas, Andorra will have to quarantine for 14 days. The change takes effect in Wales from midnight, from 4 o'clock on Saturday morning for the rest of the UK. So, shall we start, David, with you this evening? If we look at Northern Ireland, of course, there were 43 new infections announced today. That's way up, and we're seeing this pattern now throughout pockets of the UK, and we're wondering what the winter will be bringing us, David.
Yes, it seems to be little clusters of cases in Northern Ireland, which have sent the R rate up. It was, as you said in your preamble before, it's between 0.8 and 1.8. The best estimate we're getting from the Northern Ireland Executive tonight is that it's about 1.3. Now, to turn that into English, that means that if 10 people were infected with it, the likelihood is that they, between them, will infect another 13 people. So it will exponentially grow, because those 13 will then infect a similar proportion of people, and it will grow. So they have to get it down below that number 1, so that fewer people are passing it on. Again, it just shows that there is a fear in number 10 that we have started in what's being called scarily as the second spike, and that has already started. So scientists and ministers and the health authorities will all be working extra hard to try and stop contact and bring things down and emphasise the rules on social distancing and hand washing and so on.
Well, I think some of us were in a lot of denial at the beginning. If I think back months ago, that we kind of knew in the back of our head that we had to be going through this, if we thought about it logically, until we got a vaccine. But we were resting on the government saying, do this for 12 weeks, do this and that for a number of weeks, and we will see where we're at. The bottom line is, life is going to be completely different in this country until we get a vaccine. How could it not be?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a kind of emotional roller coaster, hasn't it? There's been times when it felt like this would be forever, times when we thought we would be coming into and out of lockdown as a whole nation, kind of month on, month off. There were, government models that looked like that. And I think over the last few weeks, because, things were starting to reopen and the Prime Minister was telling us we'd be, normal by Christmas, we'd started to believe that it was kind of all over and it was kind of the home straight, and maybe we'd have to wear masks in the shops, but hey, in the end that's no big deal in comparison to getting football up and running and opening the pubs and hopefully sending our kids back to school in September. The problem is maybe we've opened too much too fast, and that's actually putting the recovery, the return to kind of economic normality, putting that kind of further into the future.
And therefore, maybe it's time, David, for us to have a reality check. Stop being greedy about this, greedy about our freedom, and realise, look, if the kids are going to go back to school, and this of course is what some of the experts this week have touched upon, then some of the rest of us are going to have to forgo some of our freedom. So what does that mean? If all the kids are going to go back to school, do we close restaurants? Or do we close pubs? And does the government fund those businesses so that they're not taking a financial hit of it? You know, is it worth closing pubs in this country if it means every kid is slightly safer going back to school?
This is the big question, the big question that politicians have to answer that. Because if you listen to the economists, we'd all get back to work in droves tomorrow. And if you listen to the health lobby and the scientists, we'd all lock ourselves away for the rest of the year. So they have to get that balance, which is very, very difficult because they can't win. Some people say we're dying of coronaphobia, we're scaring ourselves to death, and we're only a third of people are back in work. So we have to get the economy moving. But on the other hand, we keep it's a stop-start situation. We take a step forward and then we go, we don't like this, and we step back again. It's a very, very difficult. I think the word stage was baby steps. Well, we took a few baby steps, and now we're sort of crawling back towards the nursery again, slowly.
Надо же было так постараться. Да, ну бывает. Что ж, я хотел закончить сегодняшний стрим тем, что я его довезу, но заканчивать его придется досрочно. Ну, типа, как вы понимаете, на этом все. Да, бывает. Чёртова ночь. Ненавижу ездить ночью. Если бы не эти чёртовы кредиты, я бы никогда бы не ездил. Ну, ладно, бывает. Все, пока.